have heard this millions of times. This statement is often repeated everywhere. Think globally, act globally. Can you type yes in the chat box if you have heard this slogan? How many of you have heard this slogan? Kashmira says yes. How many of you? Because it's a very, very popular slogan that we hear all the time. Jyotishna also says yes. What about others? Yes. I'm sure the whole world would have heard it several million times, and more so frequently of the last few years in the pandemic times. Why this mantra became so famous? Originally, it was coined by David Brower. Even Modi ji also has made the statement. Yes, the PM also has made the statement. In 1970, David Brower coined this. He was the founder of the Earth Day also. The reason why I always resonate with this, I was born in 1970, so I'm a dinosaur myself. So I'm 52 years old. I was born in that year. And probably this mantra became resonating with me more as I grew up. Because my parents were both in the municipality in Chennai. My father was an electrical engineer. My mother was an education superintendent. So the Drippen buildings in Chennai, the municipal head office, used to be like a play school to me. So they used to take me once in a few weeks there. I used to play there, and I used to hear all sorts of civic challenges being discussed, whether it is water, whether it is roads, whether it is waste. So believe me, when I was a small child in Chennai had a perennial problem with water. Always there was a water scarcity. And waste used to be collected by bullock carts. So can you imagine, some of you who are not born in that generation, there'll be cement bins in all the streets. And once in a few days, a bullock cart will come slowly. There won't be any driver. This bull will come. The municipality bull knows exactly its route. It doesn't need any GPS or it doesn't have anything fitted, no electronics. Automatically, it will come and stop next to the bin. And the worker will come around, say, have his chai, he will come and he will put whatever waste in that. Normally, the practice is, the waste will be lying outside the bin. The bin will be very clean and empty inside. So whatever I saw those days when I was a small child, it is now 2021. Do you think it is the same everywhere or it has changed? Can you type in the chat window if you still see waste lying around on the streets or it's all properly inside the bin? Can you say yes or no?
Sir, it's all lying on the streets.
Pardon?
Sir, it's all lying on the streets.
Yeah. So for 52 years, I have been noticing we have changed from bullock carts. We had a wonderful civic ex-nora movement called ex-nora, which became very popular in Tamil Nadu. So we said this bullock cart won't work. So if people have to be involved in managing their own waste, we should have tricycles. Every street should have its own ex-nora committee where people become stakeholders. They pay for this tricycle. They pay for the person who is coming and cleaning their streets and picking the waste, and collect the waste from door to door so that it doesn't fall on the streets. So with that, it started, and I became a student volunteer. I was very inspired by this because I didn't want waste to be lying on my streets. So I became a student volunteer. I was working with Civic ex-nora. So slowly it started spreading. In 10 years, it became one of the fastest growing movements in the country. But that was still in the 80s, okay? Now, even in 2021, we have migrated from bullock carts to tricycles. And from tricycles, we have gone into motorized vehicles, push carts also, battery carts, compactors, tractors, autos, Swachh autos, whatnot. Technology has improved. We have GPS fitted vehicles. But still the waste is lying on the streets. So let us take water scarcity. The same water scarcity continued. We had borrowed water from Karnataka. We borrowed water from Andhra Pradesh. We borrowed water from everywhere. We started drinking, borewell water. We sunk borewells left, right, and center. The groundwater got polluted. Sea water entered into the land because so many people were drilling bores. All the IT companies came up, all the wetlands were taken over by concrete buildings. Now today, if you ask whether the water problem is solved, either there is a scarcity in summer or there is a flood in the monsoons. Is it true or not? Can you type yes or no? In most of the urban cities in India, it is the same problem even. Either we have scarcity, either we buy water, or we are literally being, floating. All our cars are floating away in the water. Do you all agree? Yes. So what has changed in these 52 years? I am questioning myself. I got into the corporate world. I started my career as a counselor. I started then getting into training. Then I started into doing corporate training. I was very busy for a few decades doing, lots of workshops and, out of sight, out of mind. When you forget about what is happening around you, you are getting into a car, going to your work, coming back in the evening. You don't see anything that's happening around you. You start getting disconnected with the world. And one day it suddenly dawned on me that, what am I doing? Is whatever I'm doing making any impact at all on the people around me, on my own family? We're talking about pollution. We are cursing about air pollution. We are cursing about water scarcity, or we are cursing about floods, or we are cursing about the waste. N number of issues we are cursing about. So, like they say, it is better to light a candle than curse the darkness. So instead of asking and questioning what the governments are doing, what the elected representatives are doing, what engineering organizations are doing, what are we doing? I think social enterprise begins with an individual's social responsibility. We cannot change the world, but we can start changing ourselves. Because the world is just people like all of us all around. So whatever global issues today you see, whether it is in environment, whether it is in education, whether you talk about the pandemic, the job loss, the mental health issues. Take mental health, for example. India is losing trillions of rupees because of simple things like anxiety and depression. Nobody talks about this. Till Deepika Padukone or some other, celebrity says, I am also suffering from mental health issues. Hardly people, are aware of what's happening to them. So whether it is health, like recently one, Kannada superstar died of cardiac arrest at a very young age. So people need to be aware of so many things around them. And when they start looking at news, when they start realizing that whatever is happening around the world today, because of the mobile phone in our hands, we are aware of everything. All the news reaches us, whether we want it or not. Sab kuch humko saaf on our mobile phone, we are able to search and we are able to find out. So then the solutions also have to be in our hands. The problem is very clear. It is very visible in our hands. We are able to see what's going on. So how do we become part of the solution rather than become part of the problem? So that is the whole concept of today's session. When I was invited by Anjori to talk about social entrepreneurship, I said the society needs more social entrepreneurs. And believe me, India is not behind there. If you ask me, how many social enterprises does our country have? Can anybody take a rough guess? In your chat window, can you tell me approximately how many social enterprises do you think India might have? Just take a wild guess. Anybody? It is not an examination. You can even Google it. If you want, you can Google it. And the kind of money that is being pumped in, and the kind of startups we are seeing in social space, immense. So, any guesses? I'm still waiting for an answer. Any guess? How many do you think we have? Someone says, Ishani says there are very few enterprises which are eco-friendly. Okay. Whether we are eco-friendly or not, the point that you want to address a social problem. All businesses, in fact, look at addressing a problem, common problem. And the moment that problem is converted into an opportunity, there is a business there. So social business also starts with an opportunity. And that is how we see so many startups happening. Being eco-friendly or not is the next question. Okay, less than 100 says Shiva sir. Not aware much about social enterprises is Manvinderji. There are 2 million plus social enterprises in our country. We are a big country, right? So we don't have any dearth of people who are thinking about the society. We don't have any dearth of people who are ready to take the risk. We don't have any dearth of people wanting to help, wanting to heal, wanting to solve. So we have a terrific population, especially youth population, who wants to take every challenge front on and attack it and try to solve it. So that is the great thing about our country. There is no dearth of efforts. How these efforts can be consolidated and made it sustainable, I think that is the question that we need to ask ourselves. Okay, so yeah, just saying. So whenever it is time to change the slide, yeah, I was just trying to build the context to begin with. You can go to the next slide. So coming to the definition, any organization whose goal is on promoting the environmental or social welfare rather than looking at their business as a profit and loss. Okay, so we are not only going to be concerned with one bottom line of profits or profiteering. If your organization is going to think of, apart from the profit and loss, are they going to think of what impact it's going to make on the society? So that is where we stand today, and we have millions of organizations already lined up trying to think like that. They're talking about double bottom line and triple bottom line. So the next slide, please. So this concept also is not new. Back as 1997, we had John Ellington say, the concept of triple bottom line is very important, because businesses, if they start only talking about profits, if they are going to live like there is always going to be resources for us to exploit, if we are going to exploit all the resources and we are going to keep selling and marketing our products and services, and we are going to only look at how to maximize our profits, I think that is not going to be working, because it's not going to be sustainable to have a linear thought, and only profiteering is not going to sustain. Because we have seen globally the last few decades, the Fortune 500 companies have vanished and several new startups are now ruling the roost. So an organization, in order to sustain, has to address not only the set of challenges that are now current, but they also have to be innovative. So this concept was brought in. And then what does it focus on? It focuses on 3 Ps. Not only the profits, it also looks at the people. Who is it? Who are the stakeholders who are going to be directly affected or benefited from what we are doing? And the planet, because we are, as of now, we only have one planet to live in. And by the amount of consumers, tendencies that we have, I don't think we can even, sustain beyond 2050. That's what research says, at the rate that we are going. So what is the impact on the planet based on whatever business we are working on? And finally, does it make sure that prosperity is evenly distributed? There is equity and equanimity rather than just making money. So we have seen that this rich becoming richer, poor becoming poorer. And just one pandemic has pushed so many millions of people again below the poverty line. We have seen that happen very recently with our own eyes. So it is more relevant today than before, because the earth needs healing. The earth doesn't need startups which want to make more profit. The earth needs people who can heal the whole earth and the people and the forest and the environment around it. So our waste that is lying around in our streets is not just our problem. If 2,000 feet we need to drill just for a cup of water, it's not just our problem. If we are going to have flood cycle and drought cycle every year, it is going to be a very big challenge for everybody. And with people talking about smart cities and migration and more cities coming up and cities becoming bigger all the time, and people who are in the business trying to sell their services to this growing population, I think we are heading towards a very big breakdown unless we are working on circular economy principles. So that is where all these things come in.